Ladies and gentlemen, Caravan fans, welcome back to Shoulder to Shoulder. This is our second episode here on your podcast all about Caravan athletics. My name is Matt Malloy, play-by-play announcer for all Caravan broadcasts. Christos, how are you doing, man?
Feeling great, Matt. I'm ready to get some lunch after this, but for now, let's talk some sports.
Right, it's right in the middle of our day on this great Thursday. A little bit of an off week, I guess I should say, for sports. We had a huge build-up to last week's varsity football game against the Hun School, in which the Caravan unfortunately lost 42-38. And it just feels like since then we've been recovering a little bit. But I think now that a week has passed, we're just ready to get right back into it. And I think it's fitting to start with football since all of our energy has been surrounding that here for the Caravan Media Group. However, we are streaming a soccer game a week from now on September 12th, so stay tuned for that. But as far as football goes, Christos, an incredible game. It was an awesome game last Thursday. It exceeded my expectations of what was going to happen. You know, they were scoring every drive. Both teams came out with their own tricks, and that's the beauty of high school football. Was on the kickoff, the Raiders recovered it. They recovered the ball, and then I think they didn't throw a single pass on that first drive. They just kept on running the ball, running it just kind of straight through our defense, and it was a bit of a wake-up call, though. Later on in the game, it was a dogfight, such a huge dogfight. The Caravan lost that one, though. Reminded me of past games against Loyola. It definitely had that feel in which whenever each side had the ball, every play, every run, every pass was extremely vital to the outcome of the game. That's what I took away from it. It was an incredible night, and something else I took away from it was that might be the most exhausted I've ever been on a school day was last Friday. And, I mean, all we were doing, we just stood there and talked for 3 hours. You know, I can't even imagine what those guys down on the field were feeling like Friday. I talked to them, a couple of them on Friday, and they still seemed in high spirits, though. They're ready to move on. So, Christos, you know, what do you think of the game last week, announcing it, being there for it, but also what's something coming up tomorrow that we have something to look forward to when it comes to football?
Yeah, Matt, to start, going back to your game last week against Hun, you know what? I think that was a really good game, and I think it's good to get that loss.
Yes.
You know, obviously you don't want to lose, but it's good to get a loss under your belt early on in the season, especially way before you get into playoffs, because you have some experience against adversity, and it gives the guys a bit of a chip on their shoulder, I think, going into each week. But as we said, you know, Loyola also lost to East St. Louis.
Big, yeah.
So that also gives us motivation. Like, we could still win CCL since Loyola also lost.
Definitely.
You know?
Yeah.
And it'll still come down. Hopefully, it'll come down to that game week 9 against Loyola.
Yep.
But what I loved seeing Jack scrambling. You know, Hun could not get him down on the ground. I think he was sacked twice, and he probably scrambled every play.
Yeah.
And even with as dominant as the Hun quarterback Jack Moran was, Jack still had, you know, over 300 passing yards. We saw lots of flashes from sophomore Quentin Burrell, number 4. He had a couple touchdowns, and as well as DT at running back, who I think that was a first game, just kind of testing the waters, but I think they're gonna gradually use him more and more as each week comes.
I agree. He had 2 touchdowns, and I think there's plenty more to come for him in the rest of the season. You know, kind of going back to about this whole idea of losing early on. Maybe it's the fact because I was a sophomore compared to a junior, but when we were sophomores a couple years ago and the team went undefeated, it felt a little, less enthusiastic than last year when they went 13-1 and still won state. It was a loss to Loyola, but it was a close game last year in week 9, and that playoff run was incredible. I loved watching it going up against Batavia and all that, and I think this is a huge learning experience, and I know for sure Coach Lynch and the rest of the guys on the coaching staff are going to use this in the correct way. They're not going to use this to punish the guys on the team, but they're rather going to use it to teach them lessons they can take away from it. I'm sure they did it last year when the Caravan lost to the Ramblers, like we just mentioned. But, yeah, I'm excited. And now tomorrow the Caravan get to play the Mustangs for it's a rivalry matchup, but these two programs have kind of deviated off of the same path, I guess I should say, in recent years. St. Rita has taken a hit, I should say. They've made a couple big runs, but nothing like the Caravan have in the past couple of years.
Right.
And that's just the way it goes. So we'll see, though. An upset, it would not, it'd be shocking, but it's still in the cards. It's still possible. That game is going to be tomorrow, 7:30 at St. Rita. It's the first away game of the season, first of 3. So what should fans look for tomorrow's game? And who are some players like DT we mentioned that are going to have a big performance tomorrow?
Matt, it's the 104th meeting between the two teams, I believe. And like you said, the last probably 10 years, it's been a lopsided rivalry. We've won, I think, the last 6 or 7 games in a row, even though Rita's had some teams here and there in the last few years. But something to look out for in Rita, we'll start with, is their defense. Their defense is definitely their strongest suit. You got guys like James Kingsbury who's leading that. His older brothers, one of them's playing at Minnesota. I believe another one went to U of I. And then, you got a guy like Joe Catalanic on the D-line, as well as some good DBs and safeties. I know their receiver, Owen Lynch, is another name to look out for. But they have a new quarterback,
Yeah.
I think he's just a junior. He got some time last year as a sophomore.
I vaguely remember
Armbruster
Stephen Armbruster. I vaguely remember, saying his name a few times on the broadcast. So, him and Tommy Perry, I think, those are some names I remember from last year. They got a couple passes.
They moved Tommy over to receiver, I heard.
Yeah. So
and
it's gonna be a good one though, because I mean, look at how many names we just mentioned. And there's more guys too. I went to Fisher. There's a ton of Fisher guys on this Rita team that I know, and I've texted a couple of them this week. And at the end of the day, though, it's all love. These two schools are so much alike, which is gonna make that win feel a lot more worthy, I guess I should say. Yeah.
There's no Mount Carmel without St. Rita.
No.
Without St. Rita, we wouldn't be the school that we are today. It's our rivalries. Got other schools like Rice, for example. It's those schools that we support each other in a way, even though hate is a strong word, but we definitely don't like each other.
Yeah. But it's must-watch football for a reason. Rivalry football. It's been like that for years, and we're excited for tomorrow's matchup. That's all I got to say about the guys out there in the gridiron. Good luck to them tomorrow. Let's move on into soccer. Bit of a rocky start to the season. They've suffered a couple losses at their opening tournament, which was at Revis High School, the Joliet West Windy City Ram Classic. So they suffered a couple losses, 2 I believe. They tied, and then they won a game recently. So that's just the way it goes with soccer, though. Like a couple of other sports, most notably basketball, you usually start your season out with a tournament away. There's just a lot of competition there, and you got to get your feet wet somehow. You got to test the waters with your new team, your new roster, new goalie perhaps. I know the Caravan are keeping theirs with Julian Rodriguez. But these seniors, they've been a part of the program for a while. It's a very, very, I guess I'll say these guys know how to lead. Whether it's summer practices back in June when they start, which is still wild to me. These guys put in the hard work. So their next game is going to be tomorrow, September 6th, Friday, at St. Pat's. They're going to be taking on the Shamrocks. So good luck to them. A little bit of an all boys education matchup So I'm really interested to see how they pair up with one another. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go to the game because we will be at Rita. The media group is going to be doing some coverage there. Shout out Danny Mann, the freshman. He stepped up and said he wanted to go out there down on the field with me. So, yeah, good luck to the soccer team. I know, Christos, you talked to Coach Godinez a lot. Has he said anything recently about the start of the season?
He's staying optimistic, Matt. You
Yeah.
know, I think his mentality is just keep your head down, keep working.
Mm-hmm.
Good things come to those who wait.
Exactly.
But I will say, in terms of the season, he's got 2 games circled, and that's at Rice and at Lawrence, and
Yeah.
especially that Lawrence game has become a bit of a rivalry since he's been coach here. So that's something to look out for as September ends and October comes.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week, and we're going to talk about it probably every week leading up to that game, which is on Tuesday, October 1st. It's a huge game for everybody on the team as well as Coach Godinez himself. So, but right now, we're just looking ahead. They've got a couple more tournaments before then, a couple more matchups like tomorrow's. So, good luck to the guys. They had their home opener actually last night for the 38th annual Jim Walter Soccer Invitational. They played here, so yeah, they're just starting, they're starting it out, testing it. So, and talk about kind of feeling it out. That's the perfect way to describe Carmel's golf team right now. We have 4 guys locked in for the 6-man roster. The guys that are going to be going out to regionals and playoffs and tournaments like that. There's 4 guys that are absolutely locked in. Coach Minogue is trying to figure out who the other 2 guys should be. I know there's a couple names in that conversation, such as Logan Wagner, the senior's a big one. This is his first year playing golf. He shot a 41 yesterday at his match. So, Christos, there's plenty of other kids, though, because golf is a no-cut sport. And if you come out and start shooting in the high 30s, low 40s, or possibly even better, you might find yourself being the 5th or 6th man on this golf team and perhaps heading down to state like they did last year. So trying not to get ahead of ourselves, though. It would be incredible if they could go down state back-to-back years. But senior captain Michael Schwartz is just trying to maintain the friendly atmosphere they had last year. These guys got along very well last year, and he's just trying to shape that right now this week. They played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, today, Thursday. They don't play tomorrow, and then they play Saturday. So this is a huge week for golf. So yeah, 1 day off this week, and the golf season is very short. Only 3 weeks long, I want to say, or maybe around a month, and then things head off into the playoffs. So right now is the time of the year to play your best golf if you want a spot on the team, and better yet, if you want to kind of make a name for yourself like those guys did last year. So, Christos, what do you got to say about the golf team?
Yeah, I know. As I was talking to Coach Minogue a little bit, talking about those last 2 spots, and he said he's got 60 kids to look after on this team, so he's giving everyone a fair shot and just seeing what they can do.
Yeah, and I think that's the right way to go about it. If Brett, like I said, you come out, shoot a 35, who knows what's going to happen. So, on the other side of things, our last fall sport we're going to talk about on this episode, cross country. Completely different vibe than the other 3 sports we just talked about, right? Football is in the midst of trying to go for a three-peat. Soccer is in the midst of trying to just get the ball rolling, basically, and use their seniors to their advantage. Golf is trying to figure out those last 2 spots. Christos, what is cross country up to?
First meet is Saturday morning out by O'Hare, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Gonna have to make that long drive after a good Friday night game at Rita.
Right.
But it's all up in the air right now. There's a lot of returning sophomores and juniors, which is good. It's a underclassmen heavy group, and it's just kind of any man's game right now to see how cross country works. Is there's a JV and a varsity meet, and everyone runs, and then once you get to playoffs, you take your top 7 guys, And so it's those top 7 times that we'll be really looking at. I think we have a good gauge of like the top 3 or 4 right now, but those last 3 for playoffs are going to be up in the air as well.
Yeah. Well, we're excited for all of our fall sports here at Mount Carmel. Good luck to all these teams this week. It's for some it's been pretty slow, and for some this might be the busiest week of their season. So we're in a tricky situation. Next week we're going to talk about football's home game against Nazareth. We're also going to dive deep a little bit into the fact that they play 3 home games in a row. We're going to start having some conversations about that. We're going to talk about the soccer team getting ready for some tournaments later on they got going up. I know they got their eyes on the Moline Senior Great River Classic. That's at the end of September, though, but it's never too early to prepare for that. We're going to talk about the golf team and those last 2 final spots, and we're going to talk about how cross country's first meet went. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and have a great day, Chicago.
So long.